We all drive cars every day. They need to meet our budget and our needs, but they should also be fun. That's our whole premise.
We're a small outlet, and we love what we do. We also make a lot of content.
We do. I mean, for YouTube, we do these big comparisons like the one you're about to see, but we also do single cars with our fast blasts and long terms.
Outside YouTube, once a year we make a huge feature film. From the only full retrospective of the 911's first 50 years, to a celebration of affordable exotics and amazing roads, to the ultimate enthusiast road trip across Germany.
Plus, every week we do an audio podcast, The Car Debate, where we help you find a fun car that fits your situation.
So we hope you'll join us for all of it. Subscribe, please make comments, and make sure to share.
And the thing is, we do read every comment that you leave. So thanks for watching.
It started more than 25 years ago. A tiny new convertible with pop-up headlights.
At the time, it was a gamble. But it paid off, growing and changing and becoming a well-loved icon.
So now, in celebration of the 4th generation MX-5 Miata, we decided to drive them all.
So Miatas have been around just a little over 25 years at this point, and in that time they've sold nearly 1 million vehicles. Clearly, this is a staggering hit for Mazda.
The 4 cars we had together in the parking lot this morning, how rarely do you see all 4 generations of these cars together? By themselves, not that notable. All together, it's history. There's something to it, and that's why Todd and I are driving these.
So while this was based on the old British Roadster classics, it's been around long enough now, it's a classic itself.
Came out in '89, but this one's a 1990 model with only 70,000 miles on it. And thanks to Earl, he owns this car and the 4th generation, the ND that we're driving as well.
Now what's cool is we've driven a lot of things, but prior to today I'd never actually driven a first-gen Miata. And of course, this is the generation that started a revolution with these cars. And now they have their own SCCA racing class, and they're used by all kinds of people, and yet they still maintain a reputation as a girl's car, which is kind of tragic, but on the other end of the spectrum, it's one of the things that keeps the used prices down. You can get yourself a Miata for generally pretty cheap.
This car defines Mazda. Yes, they were known for nimble sports cars and lightweight cars prior to this car, but this car now defines everything that we know about the brand, their marketing, their attitude, and everything references off this as the benchmark, the starting point. This car has been around so long now that other cars now reference it. And I've never been in one until today.
This is the essence of a simple car. I mean, the top is completely manual, very light. You can work it with one arm. Very simple 5-speed, not that powerful an engine. The basics of having a good car.
We've talked about this car endlessly, and we know it's small. I'm actually fine except for the headroom because my eyes are level with the sun visor, and I know Todd's are even higher than that because he's got the tall torso.
This is one of the more comfortable Miatas for me, even though I've got this kind of bobblehead problem. I mean, I'm driving along here and I can kind of do the human equivalent of a dog with its head out the window. It's ridiculous. This isn't going to wow anyone with its stats. I mean, you've got about 110 horsepower, but it's the weight that is the key thing.
2,100 pounds. So with me, call it 2,300. All right, I'm trying to pass a truck on the uphill. Come on, baby. This is not a torque monster. Come on, I'm passing you. I really am. Now we got it.
You're not going to ever be impressed with the acceleration in this car. It just, the numbers don't add up to something that's impressive. But that's really, honestly, not the point. The point is speed maintenance. You can get up to speed on a gorgeous day with the top down and just enjoy yourself.
See, look at this. These are fast corners. And yes, it hugs. It's just so light, and it hugs just fine. It's just because of the soft suspension, because nothing has been done, because this is more than 25 years old. That soft suspension on turn-in contributes to, I give it some steering input and then it responds.
What surprises me is how well it really holds onto corners and doesn't actually roll much. I mean, this one's on the stock suspension and actually rolls very little. Hydraulic steering and a 50-50 weight balance. So there's a lot of information here, and the overwhelming sense when you drive this car is just how easy it really is. Nothing about this is complex, but because it is light and the balance is so good, you could see a great driver getting in this and having an amazing time, which is why so many people race them. But you could also see a new driver, somebody with very little experience could get in here and actually learn a lot.
Yes, people autocross these and race these, have for years, but I kind of feel like the high-speed sweepers is really what this car is designed for, just like this. Yes, this car can hold a line. Yes, it can, in stock form. And the only thing that's been changed about this one are the wheels. Who can deny? Who can deny how fun this is? But you know what? It's stable. It's not flat, but it feels stable.
I'm not feeling like I want to go beat on this car. Driving it a little bit faster than everybody else on a back road feels about right. Trying to be the fastest car on the back road doesn't really feel necessary.
Unfortunately, I've run into the back of the motorcycle club, and they're all just kind of cruising because that's what they do. There's not really any way I can pass them because I don't have the power. So I'm just going to sit back here in their exhaust. Awesome. So nimble and light. But you know what? Mazda thought that there was room for improvement. And I like that they did, because what a stellar effort, what a stellar thought process. And
we talk a lot of times about how cars become distant and digital. This is the opposite of that. You're never going to win a drag race. You might not win autocross, but you're going to be one of the people having the most fun there, honestly. Finally driving this NA is like going my whole life without a dog and going, I don't know if I really like dogs. And then you finally get a dog and you go, I love this. This is great. Why didn't I have a dog before? This is like a happy puppy. You kind of can't help but like it, unless you're just a curmudgeon.
I like that we're doing this and driving all the generations to feel what the differences are throughout the years. And of course, I'm having flashbacks to the 911s that we drove. And if you haven't seen that film, go watch it. Because Todd and I marveled at the early generations and what they did to affect subsequent cars.
We hopped in all four of these cars before starting through all of these interviews. And I have to say right away, I can see why the NA remains such a classic in people's minds. Because dynamically, it's still superb this far in. If you drive one and you hate it, I think it's because you're kind of trying to. Now, I'm not saying Miatas are perfect. Among these four generations, there are issues. But this one specifically, especially if you get it for really cheap, why not just like it? Why not just drive it hard? I mean, that's kind of the point.
Oh yeah. I remember this car.
So this is generation 2. This is an NB. This is a 99, first year for the second generation. This is Cody's car. Cody hasn't had it very long. In fact, he's never had a Miata before, but he just thought, all right, I'm gonna see what all the fuss is about. He's kind of fallen in love with it. But here's the interesting thing.
So the owner of this car paid $2,000, $2,000 US to get this car. 170,000 miles, stock everything pretty much, and it still feels fresh.
You got a car that, frankly, to drive is worth far more than $2,000.
So the interior is pretty plain, pretty basic. Eyeball vents, a radio.
And these seats, honestly, are terrible. I just can't get them to work for me. I can't get them low enough. I feel like I'm sitting on the car, and I don't really have much bolstering at all to hold me in.
It feels like there wasn't much thought other than steering wheel and shifter. This shifter has got to be one of the best.
We're at altitude. You take this car to altitude, you go uphill, guess what? It's slow. Now this has got more power than the NA, but it's only up to 140, and the car got heavier. So while it's faster, it's still nothing to be overly excited about. You have to really learn what gear to be in to wrench the most out of this small engine. But when you get it right, it's got enough power to be plenty fun and plenty fast.
That's pretty satisfying. I'm pretty happy with that.
If you're looking for a factory high-performance model, this second generation NB is your only option. It's the only one so far where they made a Mazda Speed version. The turbo in the Mazda Speed version of this car bumps us up to almost 180 horsepower, which is a significant improvement. The problem is the turbo spools pretty high in the rev range, and so right about the time it spools pretty well, you're almost ready to shift.
Wow. So direct. I love that instant turn in. The hydraulic rack is making me happy. What's so funny is if you pick a line and you try to readjust mid-corner, the car's not going to do very much. It's going to kind of shrug it off and ignore you a little bit. It's got good turn in, but what you need to do is pick a line and stick with it.
Body roll feels pretty similar because this is essentially the same car, just refined for generation 2. They lost the pop-up headlights, but this is the same basic body shell, just made into a better generation. Felt like the NA gave me a little bit more information. I'm really splitting hairs to say that, but a fractionally more information out of that NA steering rack than the one in this NB.
And I liken that to everything that is this car, the kind of worn out suspension, worn out tires, but the handling is the biggest thing. That steering ratio is the biggest thing about it.
When you consider how affordable and reliable these can be, it becomes a great toy.
It's because they're so inexpensive and so much fun. Wow, I'm about to slide out of the seat. But what's great is there's always room for improvement. If you're trying for a lap time in this car, there's always room for improvement. There's always little things you can do. This is just so comical. It's just so comical driving this car. I feel huge in it.
First Miata I ever drove was not only an NB, but a Mazda Speed. And I actually really liked the dynamics. I just couldn't fit in the car. Unfortunately, something about this NB, this is the generation that is the least comfortable for me, and that definitely affects just my ability to drive it and enjoy it. These early cars get so much right. The placement of everything, the feel of the stick shift, the steering that's informative. So while there's been improvements here over the first gen, they're definitely incremental. It's not for everybody. First off, you've got to be small-ish to make that work, and there are still those that don't like them, and I understand that.
I know Todd likes Miatas more than I do, but I cannot deny how fun this is. It's stupid, crazy fun. I see that. I see that. These cars are now cheap, and I mean cheap. Cheap to own, cheap to run, cheap to maintain. You can track them like crazy. So, do you need one, is the question.
Thank you, Cody, for giving us your car and for reminding us how inexpensive and fun this can be. This is a poster child for everything the Miata does well. I wish I fit in this generation better. As a result, I like the NA more, but that's entirely down to me and my own comfort and not down to any problems with the car.
This is the NC Miata MX-5. Somewhere in there the name changed, and so did the car, quite dramatically, from the second generation to this one.
And this one has every option you could get. It's a 2014. It's a Grand Touring model, which means it has all the extra stereo bits, heated seats. It is the only one offered with a power retractable hardtop, at least so far. This has everything you could possibly get on a Miata at the time.
This was a huge leap in refinement from the second gen up to this car. I remember driving, it's a blue one. It was really the first MX-5 or the first Miata that spoke to me as a driver. It's funny because this is the heaviest car of the bunch at nearly 2,500 pounds and by far the biggest car of all three of them here. Now, it's still a lightweight little sports car, isn't it?
This was the first really all-new Miata. The NB was a variation of the original NA, but they didn't start completely again because this is using a variation of the RX-8 chassis. Now, the Miata purists don't really like the NC. This generation is the least favorite. It isn't quite the same personality or look. In fact, I heard one person describe it as a hot dog with fenders, which I think is a little more brutal than is necessary. This is the longest and the heaviest. I mean, it's 150 pounds heavier than the next heaviest car in this lineup. Of course, what you gained with that is a more usable car. If you're a bigger guy, this is going to be the Miata that will probably work for you.
The interior it's a clean design. The kinds of shapes work with what else has been established on the car. But it is kind of boring. Now, for me, so far that isn't mattering.
I will admit that I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3", and I've got a long torso, so I struggle to get comfortable in a Miata. With this NC, I like it more than I might if I were smaller because this is the one that fits me.
The seating position is great, and the best thing about it are the pedals. This is the easiest car to heel and toe in.
These aren't the greatest seats, but because I'm comfortable in this car and the heel toe is easy, I want to drive this car hard. I can drive it hard.
I debated endlessly about the power availability on this car. I really did. And I'm remembering why, because there is a point where I'm wanting more out of it. I'm still pushing, I'm wanting more.
The 2-liter in this now has almost 170 horsepower, and it makes the Miata for the first time a genuinely quick vehicle. This NC with its standard engine is pretty much as fast as the Mazda Speed Miata was with the turbo. This engine isn't a powerhouse, none of the Miatas are, but it does have a tendency to rev very easily, which is something that carries over through all the generations.
There's no thrust in this car, there's no punch at all. You gotta hang out between 6 and 7,200 on this engine constantly. Definitely has a touring car aspect to it. It has been refined dramatically, but the big difference I'm noting is the stability through the corners. This is the car that I have discovered I can drive the most quickly with the most confidence through any of these corners. Initial turn in, it's not very sharp, but it's smooth and continuous. It's not like you have initial sharp turn in and then suddenly it goes away and it's less progressive. This car is not like that. It's the last generation that will have the hydraulic rack. It's still a bit of a slow ratio, but I like that in this car. The car is already so short and so nimble, I don't know that it needs an even quicker steering rack ratio than this. I'm not feeling the car push its front end around. It just seems so neutral and composed, despite the soft suspension, despite the body roll. But you know what? This car doesn't have as much roll as some of the others.
My problem is this hydraulic steering, it's light and it's not that informative. Now, the chassis roll and the rotation of the car, that tells you most of what you need to know. A lot of it is not coming through the steering wheel. I mean, I got a lot of information out of the steering wheel in that NA. That's muted here quite a bit.
It's not as twitchy on initial turn-in as some of these cars. It really isn't. Suspension, steering ratio. I feel like that's the most sorted on this car so far.
The thing these cars have always bragged is great balance. You know, their commercials are about the 50-50 weight balance. That's not something you find. The FRS, its primary competitor, that can't brag 50-50. Very few cars can claim that, and it hasn't been since like the S2000 that this car has had a great competitor as far as rear-wheel drive, affordable convertible. But even that S2000 was far more expensive.
We were in Germany. We're driving the 911 GT3 on the track. Any 911, you brake really hard coming into a corner. Well, the weight of that engine keeps the back end down. I kind of feel like that's what's happening a little bit in this car. This might be a stretch, maybe, but all the retractable hardtop running gear, all the joints and the motors and all the extra weight that's right behind me, like I'm feeling it in corners, and its stability. Of all the cars we've driven so far, I like what the refinements have done. I like the setup. It's feeling S2000-y to me.
We reviewed an NC before. It was a blue hardtop, and we said there the same thing I feel now, and that is this has more body roll than I would like. This is not as sharp and flat a sports car as I prefer. Now that, I will admit, is the preference that I have. I know the club model is a little bit better, but I want this car to be stiffer all the time, which I realize would make it less interesting for a lot of drivers, but I want a flatter chassis.
So all this combined, I remember why this car speaks to me. I remember why when we just drove it by itself, it was a bit revelatory. It was kind of went, okay, all right, I get it.
When I drive these in order, I find I like the NC much more than I expected to. Now, part of that is I just fit in it well, but in getting larger, it actually becomes a little more usable, a little more, okay, I can use this no matter who I am, what size I am, and what the conditions of my life are. All right, so here we are. This is the 4th generation Miata, known internally as the ND. I've just climbed out of the NC, and there is a stark difference between those two cars.
I'm getting back into a Miata, frankly, because it's so much smaller than the prior generation.
Going against all current automotive trends, this 4th generation Miata has gone down in almost every possible stat you can think of. It weighs less, it's far shorter. In fact, it's the shortest Miata of all 4 generations. It has less power, less torque.
So this car is going back to that. It's one of the lighter cars of this group, and it feels a lot like an homage to the NA, to the 1st generation car.
I can't get over how similar this feels to the NA in scale and in weight. While this is 150 pounds lighter than the NC, it is actually 150 pounds heavier than the NA, but It's got stuff in it. The NA has got nothing. 2,300 pounds in a modern car, you kind of expect it to be bare bones in here, and it's the exact opposite.
From an interior style standpoint, I think this is the best job Mazda has ever done. There's a lot going on. It's pretty busy, but I do like the resolution. I like the material breakup. The style and proportions of it fit the car, and they fit the instrument panel. The same goes for the exterior. I like what's going on, except I feel like the details are just a bit too small. The smaller taillights, smaller headlights make it feel like a little bit of a bigger car than it is. They could have increased the size, especially on the headlights. Now I know technology is bringing us down to the point where we're gonna just have tiny little slits, but it's still a signature look. It's still the eyes of a car, and I feel like those headlights could have been a little bit bigger. Third generation, a little bit too balloony, a little bit too big on the details. Just bring it down, but I think they went too far in this car.
Compared to that NA, here I feel like I'm down and integrated into the car. I've got far more space than I do in the NB, and almost as much, honestly, as I have in that NC generation. So without question, in spite of it being a smaller car, the packaging here is really excellent.
Nose of the car drops away a lot sooner, so I feel like my toes are right up ahead of the radiator here. I've also noticed a lot more buffeting in this car than the prior gen. And now let's talk about the power. Okay, so that was a downhill pass. It makes it nice and easy.
This is actually enough horsepower for this car, and the engine's fine. It just doesn't have a unique personality at all. It feels like just an engine. This is the same 155 horsepower Sky Active 4-cylinder that you can get on like the base Mazda 3 right now.
It's that discussion that we constantly have about how light the car is versus how much power. Okay, if you're going lighter, you can reduce the power, but a little bit more, I think that would be a good thing for this car.
Now, overseas, they even get a less powerful version of this Miata, and I think that would undermine it a little bit further. Because this car is so light, that 155 horsepower may be a reduction from the NC, but you've actually got a good amount of power here. I mean, your 0 to 60s in the 6s. And the engine, in fact, is mounted a little bit lower. So as a result, this car feels far lighter and far more agile than the NC does.
As soon as I got into this car, I knew what the difference is. I was in a longer car by 2 or 3 inches in the third gen, and this is a shorter car, and I could feel it. Now you think that might translate to more nimble handling, and it kind of does. The big problem with this car is the soft suspension. Now we don't have the club here to talk about that and the differences with the Bilsteins.
So it's set up to be a little bit more of a sports car in feel, but the thing is, all of these that we have here are the non-club version. They aren't the extra sporty version. You would think this would be comparatively soft, and yet it's far softer. That NC is flatter in the corners than this car. In fact, so is the NA. The changes to that club version are shocks and an upper strut tower brace. What this really feels like it needs is some better sway bars and some stiffer springs. But if you're shopping for a Miata, this is, in stock form, the softest one.
A small car and just a little bit of a cruise mobile. Everybody's gonna turn these into track cars, but I don't know that I'd buy it like this. See right there, sharp initial turn in, and then the suspension just lets the rest of the turn down.
What's surprising about the handling in this car is that the grip levels are actually pretty high. This has got some good Bridgestone Potenzas on it that are working pretty well with this car. But what happens is, because the body rolls as much as it does, you kind of want to back off a bit. It's disconcerting because of the amount of body roll, even though the chassis and the tires will hold on. And in spite of the fact I feel like this car is improved in almost every possible way, that's an area where the other generations feel better.
On every little input, the car's readjusting itself. It's not grabbing onto the road, and in no case do I feel like the car is hunkered down and gripping and doing its thing through a corner. I can hold higher speeds in the third generation. I don't feel like I can do that in this car.
There's lift under acceleration, there's dive under braking. much more so than you would expect in a car this small that's supposed to be a sports car.
It's kind of funny. It's like you've combined an old 60s Cadillac in a little tiny sports car with not that much power. What do you think it's gonna do? I wanna like this car more. I really do. You know, having read so much about it, thinking this is gonna blow my mind, finally I'll be on board with Miatas and MX-5s, and I'm not. I hate to say it, I want to be more. I like elements of the car, I like elements of the drive. I want more out of it. I want it to be as good as I'm reading about it.
I know Mazda has talked about the suspension setup was done on purpose because they want the driver to feel the movements of the car. But there's feeling the movements, and then there's feeling like it's moving too much. I think this is too soft. So as much as it's a cliche, for today, the answer apparently really is Miata.
Well, how many times do you see all four of them together?
I
We
never
had
have.
people in the parking lot taking pictures of them before we even started shooting today.
It's amazing to get into all four back to back and feel those slight changes, and it is kind of stark.
Well,
even though there are little
absolutely.
changes, you're so aware as you jump from one to another how these differ.
Well, I love that you said that, because if you've seen our 911 film, you know that we started with the early cars. We drove through all the generations, and then we knew at the very end why the later cars felt like these, or that lineage. We could feel certain things, dynamics, and just, oh, this is kind of like the old cars. I ended up feeling the same thing with all these. I thought, all right, we started with the NA, we started with the first gen, worked our way through all these cars, and I'm the kind of guy that generally, you probably know me at this point, I like the latest generation of whatever line it is.
We get a line of cars together and you go, well, the new one is the best one.
Honestly, I kind of gravitate towards that, I admit it.
And you picked the ND.
I didn't.
Really?
I got to the end and I thought, I've got to back up, because the third gen is the one that speaks to me most. But the way it puts its power down and holds the line, and it feels like the most substantial car here.
Oh, it's by far the best.
These are
car.
toys.
I don't know that it's the best Miata. It's by far the best car. It's the car, honestly, it's the car I fit in. I have to be honest
It's
about
funny.
that. The NB, I just,
forehead was
no matter what I do,
above
no matter
the
what I
front
do, I can't
windshield.
fit in an NB. I hate that the Mazda Speed version is the NB, because that's the one I'm actually the least comfortable in. I have to put it last just for that reason.
This is last for you.
I have to. I cannot fit in that car. For some inexplicable reason, I fit better in the NA than the NB. The NA is almost my favorite one.
Really?
I really like that.
Why is that?
I just think it's so simple, and that's what makes it work.
It is.
It needs a little bit more power, but as you said already, these are toy cars, and I mean that in a great way. These are toy cars. Like, I didn't spend much money. Look at the car I got, and all it is fun.
The fourth gen, you'd think it'd be pushed even more towards a harder tuned car.
I don't know about that, because here's the thing I like about the ND. I like that it is a return to the NA in so many ways. I don't know how this
So
has
you
happened.
like the ND?
Yes and no. I love that they got smaller. I love that they fixed the weight problem. I actually like this styling the best.
Do you?
However, I get in it, and every single way to interact with it is just too soft that it turns me off.
I think so.
How on earth is this car this soft?
Well, they're all kind of soft.
They all are, but that's the thing. If they're all soft, then how does the ND feel by far the softest? I feel very confident in the NC. I feel very confident in the NA. I can't fit in the NB, and this needs to be tuned.
You're almost opening the can of worms.
Very
So
true.
Mazda's saying, all right, it's still, whatever the generation is, it's still a platform upon which to build your car.
But a great platform.
It is a great platform, but I don't like that off the showroom floor it isn't greater. So the takeaway is, get the car you want, make it how you want.
But in this case, the answer is Miata. I mean, we do have
I
to go
guess
there.
it is Miata. It
We have
just
to go there.
doesn't matter the generation.
And here's the thing, 30 grand to like 2 grand.
Yeah, 2 grand.
Want to buy a fun car? Here you go.
The power has gone up, but so has the technology to keep it all together. This car has none of that. This is just plain and simple and refreshing, to be honest.
I'm driving the NA and just going, how on earth have I driven so many things and it's taken me this long to come around to this car? If anyone told me I'm considering buying a first-gen Miata, I would say, don't consider, just do that.
Like I said, I admit to being a power snob. I know that I am. I want more out of it. So if I were to get this car, I'd have to put money towards it. Whereas I really like something that's better off the showroom floor, just better like it is.
But I can't help how tall and big I am. That's just the truth for me. If you're a smaller person, you will probably like this more than the NA. I personally fit in the NA better, so I've got to go with that.
It's in the third generation car that I'm having the most fun. The other cars are cool. They're good, they're fast, they're nimble. But when it comes down to it, this is the car I'm having the most fun picking a line and throwing it through the corner.
Because there's a lot of things about it that aren't my favorite. I don't love the seats. The steering is a little bit light. But this is the one I find the most comfortable and the most usable, and it has less body roll than the ND.
So the Club, yes, maybe a little lighter, maybe the same, but it's got the Bilsteins, got different suspension. Would that change things? I don't think so. We're dealing with a shorter platform here, a little bit shorter wheelbase. In terms of feel, I think the third gen car is better.
I think it's better almost across the board. It's the best place to be. I like the styling the best. I love that it's lighter with a lower center of gravity. All of these are great pieces of information, but this body roll and this soft suspension is disconcerting. I honestly think that the ND, the fourth generation, is one suspension change away from being the best Miata. But in this stock form, with none of these being the Club or Mazda Speed versions, the NC is the best one to drive.